take a look at this thing I found. It's a strange dragon ES-335. Now, personally, I like more friendly-looking dragons. This kind of has some Godzilla-like vibes to it, so it's not a 335 I would adopt as the new show mascot, but I love the colors on this thing. It's a nice space-like design, kind of like what we saw from the mod collection, which we reviewed and demoed in this episode. But besides just the cool artwork, you can tell it's a historically spec 335, and it's got a really rosy fretboard on it. Kind of matches the whole dragon flame theme going on here. However, it's not the top I like about this guitar. It's the back. You got this weird, crazy wizard man here trying to contain the dragon, put him into some sort of a black hole in space to save Earth. And you get a little bit of lightning going on. You've got the purples and the blues and the ebonies. Looks like you'll have some metallic flakes within here. But then the design also continues up the neck, again with the lightning and the swirls. But then I saw this and I was like, oh my goodness. Up until this point, I was thinking somebody just took a 335, took it to an airbrush artist and had them redo it, but that decal is over top of the finish. That very well might be original. And apparently it's from 2003 and was 63 reissue in style, so it's a nice custom shop piece. And according to the seller of this one, it has never been played. And apparently Gibson customer service confirmed that they commissioned tattoo artist Judy Parker to paint one of these for them. It looks like, yes, we can see the signature of the artist right there. This one was sold for around $5,000. I honestly couldn't tell you how old this listing was, though. I mean, it probably sold a while ago. But speaking of weird airbrush things, here's a Fender Stratocaster in a 57 reissue style. Done up for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, I'm not really big on this team or the sport in general, and the design doesn't do much for me, but it's kind of an interesting little blue tiger guy there. But what made me really appreciate this is the fact that, obviously, very Canadian themed right here with your old maple leaves. And they also have a giant design on the back, cracked ice and all. But then the guitar is made in Japan. But to be fair, Canada doesn't really have the option to have Canadian-made Fenders or a Canadian-made Gibson. Okay, technically there was a very short period in time where you could find a Canadian-made Gibson, but that's a topic for another day. But if this team wanted one of the 3 big-name brands in guitars, they can't necessarily have it made in Canada unless they do one of their boutique luthiers, which there's tons of them out there. But how about a couple extra spooky guitars for tonight? So this one's by Manchester Music Mill. It's currently available. It was just listed not too long ago. $2,300 for one of the first few years of a Les Paul Classic, especially in the plus top, is a pretty good deal. So obviously I'm clicking on this thing because this should be about a $4,000 guitar with a top like this. Kind of gives you AFD vibes here from Slash. So this is either a steal of a deal, but then I got to the headstock and oh my. Okay, this is something that happens in the 90s to Gibson headstocks. Something about the way they were applying the finish, it will start to delaminate, and this is a really extreme case of it starting to chip. Normally you just have like these little bubbles right here, and it's just a mild annoyance. It's an easy fix. You just have to have somebody refinish to the front of your headstock. However, it's kind of like the Super Custom episode. You're in trouble if you do, and you're in trouble if you don't. Because if somebody does a blacklight test and they see, oh, the face of the headstock doesn't glow, there must be a headstock repair hiding, which is a very valid thing to be scared of. So just document it really well, and then maybe you can get away with it. But all this needs is slightly sanded down, new clear coat, and new Les Paul model silkscreen, and it'll look great again. Or you can just choose to use it as is. So I was thinking, all right, $2,300 and that's your biggest problem? Besides some dings on the neck and whatnot, that's not too bad. But then, then you see it. It's got the headstock crack. Now, to be fair, that doesn't look like a full-on break. It's just one of those, okay, there's a crack in the neck. We need to inject some glue. It's probably going to be very stable. However, it's still a repair. That doesn't matter at all. 50% devaluation. These frets definitely look like they've been leveled and crowned a whole bunch of times. Probably needs another crown job, would be my guess. But those early classics, fantastic guitars. And hey, this Voodoo showed up again. I remember talking about this one like last year or something. SG Voodoos, they look like this. This one looks like this. There's an extra Voodoo guy on it. These have the cool little skull guy on the fretboard, but it looks like somebody has actually taken the time to engrave another Voodoo guy into the guitar. I always thought that was just a cross shape. I think this is the clearest photos we've ever seen, but now I see exactly what they're going for here. I've never seen this graphic before, but I wasn't following new guitars at that point in time, so I'm not sure if that is a Gibson original design there or not. But the seller says this one is a mystery, and it was specially carved for a dealer. I've never heard of this before. So I'm not going to comment too much, except for the fact that I have seen another one of these, but I have a sneaking suspicion it's this exact same guitar just being sold again later on. But he said Gibson has not been able to confirm anything about it. I mean, I think it would be pretty easy just to carve up an existing one of these and just stain it red. So I'd probably lean more towards it's been modified, but again, I don't have the full information on this one. But if it is some sort of a prototype, I'm glad the production ones didn't end up doing that. Things are getting too scary for you guys. How about this one? A very angelic SG standard. So I saw this one as a 2005 cream. This is such a beautiful SG. I love it. A cream pickguard, and it just transforms the whole look of this thing. A 68 style SG done up like this just looks very refreshing. That's not the original pickguard. It looks like the seller is just saying cream as in the finish has aged from white. I have a Les Paul custom for you in light aged frost blue from the Murphy Labs division. So this looks like your regular $5,000 custom. It's got the Nashville style bridge, long neck tenon. However, it came from the Murphy Labs division. So that means you're gonna have a little bit of aging and you're also going to have a bit of a premium to that price tag. It was initially listed at $7,300, but now it's down to about $65. So I think this is kind of towards the point where it might start to sell. There's a $1,500 upcharge for a custom color, and the aging job, if that's what you like, is not too bad. You don't find many Les Paul customs in this color, and they nailed that headstock. I love the way that looks. I've seen versions of this that are like a TV Pelham Blue where you can still see the wood grain underneath that. Those are really cool guitars. I just thought I'd share this one with you guys real quick because I thought the color looked pretty good on a custom. Maybe not my favorite aging job in the world, but relic guitars, love them or hate them, there is a market for them. So you have to take them as they are. Then speaking of weird things, take a look at this. Les Paul Special from 1999. What is going on with that fretboard? That is fascinating. It's almost like somebody intentionally dyed this side. But no, sometimes wood just has characteristics like that. So half light, half dark. But the reason why I say it could be dyed is it looks like somebody has refinished the top here. So maybe somebody took a little bit of this stain because it is suspiciously about the same color, right? And just did it up on the other half. The photos aren't quite good enough to tell for sure, but this is just a regular 1999 built on the 4th day of the year Les Paul Special. You know, the Special back then just meant like a really stripped down Les Paul studio essentially. Like they were a little bit thinner, but they would be modernized in the fact that they don't have the P90s anymore. They don't have the wrap tails. They've got the full humbuckers and stop bar setup. Oh, and also they would have these little swooped comfort cuts back here. Very nice guitars, not too much money. Maybe not my favorite, but there's a lot of people who love gigging these things. But this thing apparently has a nasty heel crack that's been repaired on it. There's a giant ding in the neck, but this photo also shows us that the mahogany neck has some figuring in it, which is cool. And yeah, somebody swapped out our pickups, electronics, all that good stuff, and refinished the front. It's definitely some sort of a road dog, but at least it's an interesting one at that. Poor thing only lasted 8 years before it got busted. But nice JB Jazz combination. However, this one's pretty mind-boggling in its own right. We've got this nice kind of iced tea cherry sunburst finish going on. It's got a factory Bigsby. There's a roller bridge on it. We have some sort of a ring around a P90 pickup, which honestly looks a little bit strange to begin with. And then the other thing that you never see on a 335 are these trapezoid inlays. Now there's a few models in the 70s that aren't actually labeled 335s that got these, but as far as a legit 335, typically it's the small blocks or the dots. So the fact that this guy has the trapezoids is really strange. So my first thought was, this thing has to have been modified. It cannot be legit because Gibson just doesn't use roller bridges stock. However, after looking more at these pickups, it doesn't look like a humbucker would fit in those routes. So that's why I started to think, okay, maybe this is some sort of a weird custom order. Because if you zoom in at the 12th fret, you don't see any filled in inlays here. And you might say, hey, well, what about the small blocks? I think you technically could expand on those to get trapezoids. However, he was also able to get some additional information from Gibson here. Apparently it was a custom order for a guy in Australia. But what a strange beast. Take a look at this thing. 1959 reissue from 2005. A fantastic era of Gibson, at least for the USA standards, but custom shop this thing. That's a very nice quilt top. Now the only downside to beautiful, heavily quilted tops like this is they generally don't move too much. So if you like wood figuring that moves a lot, quilt tops generally aren't for you, but sometimes they have great movement. You just really gotta judge each example in person, but that's like a faded out lemon burst almost. But then when you swap over to the back, it's just your standard red color.
Doesn't look that much different from the USA standards of the era, to be honest. Until you get to the headstock anyways, that's when you can tell it's a historic style, and of course by the serial number. Oh, and by the COA if that wasn't enough for you.
Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.